Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when you think you understand women until you realize you've only seen the surface. Beneath every smile lies a story, behind every silence hides strength, and within every heartbeat lives a mystery science can't explain. What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about women is only half the truth? Because the real power of a woman isn't in what you see, it's in what you'll never fully comprehend. And once you discover these four shocking truths, you'll never look at women the same way again. There are mysteries in this world that science tries to explain, poets try to describe, and men try to understand, but fail, time and time again. Because some things aren't meant to be understood with logic. They're meant to be felt, observed, and respected. And one of those things is the beautiful enigma called woman. You see, a woman is not just flesh and emotion. She is rhythm, intuition, and divine design all wrapped into one soul. And if you think you already know her, think again, because what I'm about to share will shatter your perception and make you see her in a way you never have before. The first truth is this: a woman's silence speaks volumes. When she goes quiet, she's not empty. She's overflowing. A man often mistakes her silence for weakness or disinterest, but it's actually the opposite. It's the moment she gathers strength, recalibrates her emotions, and rebuilds her power. Her quiet is where her mind sharpens, where her heart heals, and where her intuition screams louder than any voice could. You can't break a woman who has learned to find peace in her silence, because that silence is her sanctuary. It's where she transforms pain into power and confusion into clarity. So when she doesn't respond, don't assume she's defeated. Assume she's evolving. The second truth is that a woman feels energy before she sees action. She senses your intentions before you ever speak. You can't fool her spirit because she reads your vibe long before your words reach her ears. She may smile, she may stay calm, but deep down she already knows who's genuine and who's playing games. Her intuition isn't magic, it's intelligence tuned to a higher frequency. It's a spiritual radar built to detect truth in a world full of masks. And that's why when she walks away, it's never sudden. It's because her soul already saw what your actions took too long to reveal. A woman's energy reacts like water. It adapts, it flows, and it reflects. When you bring peace, she mirrors peace. When you bring chaos, she absorbs it until she's had enough, and then she floods the entire room with her truth. You cannot lie to a woman's soul because her spirit doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your energy. That's why when she says, "Something doesn't feel right," believe her. She's not guessing, she's knowing. And the tragedy is, so many men lose a good woman because they underestimate the accuracy of her intuition. The third truth will shake your understanding of love itself. When a woman loves, she doesn't love with reason. She loves with revelation. Her love isn't logical, it's spiritual. It's a connection that transcends attraction and breaks the boundaries of fear. When she loves, she doesn't just give you her time or her affection, she gives you her faith. She believes in you when the world doubts you. She sees potential in you before you even see it in yourself. Her love becomes the fuel for your growth, the mirror for your healing, and the warmth that keeps you from turning cold. But here's the part that most people don't realize. Her love is not endless. It's conditional on respect. Once you break that sacred trust, her love transforms into wisdom. She'll never hate you, but she'll never be the same with you again, because once her heart learns the truth, it never forgets the lesson. When a woman walks away after giving everything, she doesn't look back because she's not walking from you. She's walking toward herself. She understands that losing someone who didn't value her isn't a loss. It's liberation. And that's the most powerful form of love there is, self-love. Because the moment she realizes that she is the prize, she stops begging to be chosen. She chooses herself. And when a woman reaches that level of awareness, she becomes unstoppable. The fourth truth is perhaps the most shocking of all. Every woman carries two versions of herself inside her, the nurturer and the warrior. One wants to love, heal, and protect. The other wants to conquer, rise, and defend. She's both softness and strength, tenderness and tenacity. When life knocks her down, she might cry, but even her tears are strategy. They're not weakness, they're release. They clear her vision so she can rise again, sharper, wiser, and more powerful. Her ability to rebuild after being broken is not luck, It's design. She's wired for resilience. Do you know why women are connected to the moon in so many ancient cultures? Because just like the moon, she has phases. There are times she shines brightly and times she withdraws into darkness. But in every phase, she remains whole. Her power doesn't disappear. It just takes different forms. She is constant in her evolution, consistent in her rebirth. That's why you can't measure her worth by what she shows today, because tomorrow she might become someone even greater. A woman's strength doesn't roar, it radiates. It's in the way she keeps showing up after heartbreak. It's in the way she nurtures others, even when no one nurtures her. It's in the way she forgives, not because it's easy, but because she refuses to let bitterness control her. Her power lies in her emotional intelligence, her ability to see through the chaos and still find meaning. Why? You can strip her of everything, her title, her position, even her peace for a while, but you can never strip her of her essence, because that essence is divine. There's something you must understand. A woman's value isn't in how beautiful she looks, it's in how beautiful she makes you feel. When you're with a woman who's aligned with herself, she awakens something inside you. She doesn't just make you want her, she makes you want to be better. And that's the kind of woman you don't meet twice. That's the kind of energy that leaves an imprint on your soul. But here's the irony. Most people only notice her when she's gone, because her presence is subtle, but her absence is loud. She doesn't demand attention, she commands it without trying. You'll realize her worth in the silence she leaves behind, in the peace that vanishes when she's no longer around. And that's when it hits. You were in the presence of something extraordinary, something rare, something sacred. A woman is not just born powerful, she becomes powerful by surviving what was meant to destroy her. Every scar she hides is a story of victory. Every smile she wears is proof that light can exist after darkness. And every time she chooses love over hate, forgiveness over revenge, and peace over pain, she wins. That's her secret power. She doesn't need validation. She is validation. So when you look at a woman, don't just see her beauty, see her battles, see her depth. See the fire she hides behind her calm. Understand that every woman you meet carries generations of strength in her bones, wisdom in her heart, and light in her soul. She's not complicated, she's layered. She's not emotional, she's expressive. She's not fragile, she's fierce in disguise. And if you're lucky enough to truly see her, you'll realize that she's not just part of life's mystery, she is the mystery. Because the truth is, women aren't meant to be understood completely. They're meant to be appreciated deeply. And the moment you start doing that, everything about your world changes. And when you finally begin to understand even a fraction of her essence, you'll realize that she was never asking for much, only for recognition of what already lives inside her. She doesn't want to be worshipped. She wants to be understood. She doesn't crave control. She craves connection. And when she loves, truly loves, she doesn't just stand beside you, she stands within you. Her love becomes the echo in your silence, the calm in your chaos, the reason behind your resilience. But here's the twist that shocks so many. When she gives you her love, she's not giving you all of her. She's testing whether you're capable of handling her depth. Because not every man can swim in oceans. Some are only meant for puddles, and when they dive too deep, they drown. She has learned through time that not everyone deserves access to her heart. Some people are lessons, others are lifetimes. And once she learns that lesson, she doesn't repeat it. She transforms it into wisdom. She no longer chases validation because she realizes that anyone who can't see her worth from the beginning was never meant to have her. That realization is her awakening. It's the moment she stops apologizing for being too much, too emotional, too strong, too passionate. She stops dimming her light to make others comfortable. She stops shrinking to fit into places that were never designed for her greatness. A woman's greatest glow comes not from makeup or appearance. It comes from alignment. When her soul and her purpose finally meet, she becomes magnetic. You can feel her energy when she walks into a room. She doesn't have to announce herself. Her presence speaks before her lips do. That glow doesn't come from things. It comes from Peace. It comes from knowing who she is, what she deserves, and what she will never tolerate again. And once she reaches that state, she's untouchable. You can't manipulate her because her peace is more valuable than your attention. You can't control her because she's mastered the art of detachment. Detachment for her doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she finally understands that caring too much for the wrong people costs too much of her soul. She learns that not everything that feels like love is love. Some things feel good because they feed her wounds, not her worth. And when she realizes that, she stops seeking comfort in temporary hands. She begins to build comfort within herself. She becomes her own home, her own safety, her own sanctuary. That's the level of power that cannot be shaken. There's something sacred about the way a woman evolves through pain. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every disappointment, it all becomes the soil for her rebirth. She doesn't just move on, she transforms. She doesn't just heal, she reinvents herself. Because pain, for her, isn't an ending, it's an awakening. She takes her tears and turns them into boundaries. She takes her scars and turns them into armor. And when she returns, she doesn't come back for revenge. She comes back as a higher version of herself. That's the beauty of her design. She was never meant to stay broken. She was meant to rise stronger every single time. And the world often misunderstands her fire. They call her difficult because she speaks up. They call her proud because she knows her worth. They call her intimidating because she refuses to settle. But none of that is arrogance. It's awareness. It's what happens when a woman finally realizes she's not obligated to shrink for anyone. She understands that the same fire people fear is the same fire that keeps her alive. And if her light blinds others, it's not her problem. It's theirs for refusing to open their eyes. She carries generations of resilience in her spirit. Centuries of voices that were silenced now speak through her courage. The strength of her ancestors flows through her veins every time she chooses to rise instead of retreat. That's why her presence feels ancient, timeless, and sacred all at once. She's the continuation of every woman who came before her, and the foundation for those who will come after. Her strength isn't just personal, it's generational. Have you ever noticed how she can sense pain even when you smile? How she can feel heaviness in your silence before you even say a word? That's because she listens with her heart, not her ears. She's not reacting to what you say. She's responding to what you mean. And that's what makes her love different. It's not transactional, it's intuitive. She connects on a level that most people don't even know exists. That's why when she leaves, the emptiness feels deeper than words can describe. Because she wasn't just in your life, she was in your energy. And yet no matter how many times she gets hurt, she never stops believing in love. She might love differently, slower, wiser, but she still believes. Because deep inside, she knows that her capacity to love is not her weakness, it's her greatest gift. To love after pain takes courage. To trust after betrayal takes faith. To smile after heartbreak takes power. And she has all three. Her spirit was built for endurance, and her heart was crafted for compassion. She doesn't love because it's easy. She loves because it's who she is. When she gives her affection, she doesn't measure it. She pours it. And when she supports you, she doesn't do it halfway. She invests her soul in your dreams, your growth, your healing. But if you ever take that for granted, she doesn't fight for your attention. She withdraws it. She disappears silently, leaving behind a void that nothing else can fill. Because once she gives you her best and you mishandle it, she learns that sometimes love means letting go. Not because she's heartless, but because she's wise enough to know that staying would mean betraying herself. She doesn't need to prove her worth to anyone anymore. The days of seeking approval are gone. She now measures her value not by how others see her, but by how she feels about herself when she's alone. She celebrates her solitude because she knows peace is not loneliness, it's freedom. And in that space of solitude, she dreams bigger, she heals deeper, and she rises higher. She stops competing and starts creating. She stops chasing and starts attracting. Because she now understands that what's meant for her will always find her, and what's not will naturally fade away. Her confidence is quiet, not loud. It's in the way she carries herself with grace even after life has tried to break her. It's in the way she keeps faith even when she has every reason to doubt. It's in the way she smiles through uncertainty, believing that everything happening to her is guiding her towards something greater. That's not optimism. It's divine trust. She has learned to surrender without giving up, to release control without losing direction. And that balance is what makes her unstoppable. Every woman deep down holds a storm and a sunrise inside her. You see it in her eyes, the fire that refuses to die, and the calm that follows every chaos. She's the storm that clears everything fake from her life, and the sunrise that brings light back to everyone around her. Her power is not in choosing one over the other, it's in mastering both. Because she knows she can be gentle without being weak, and strong without being harsh. When she finally meets someone who understands her rhythm, who values her peace, and who matches her energy, she doesn't rush it. She flows with it. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for presence. Someone who doesn't just see her body, but sees her soul. Someone who doesn't just listen to her words, but hears her silence. Someone who doesn't tame her fire, but adds wood to it. Because that's the only kind of connection her evolved heart will accept. And for those who still underestimate her, they'll never see it coming when she turns her pain into power, her scars into strength, and her loneliness into leadership. Because she's not waiting for anyone to save her. She's busy saving herself. Every single time she chooses growth over comfort, she becomes a living example of what true strength looks like. And that's the beauty of her essence. She doesn't just survive life, she transforms it. She is both a masterpiece and a work in progress, both chaos and creation, both love and lesson. She's the living proof that you can be soft without being fragile and strong without being cold. And that, right there, is the kind of power that changes everything it touches. And when you start to truly witness her evolution, you realize that she is not changing to impress the world. She is changing to align with her destiny. Every version of her is born out of necessity, molded by experience, and guided by an inner compass that refuses to let her settle for mediocrity. She has learned that growth is not always graceful. Sometimes it's painful, lonely, and confusing. But she embraces that process because she knows that every time she sheds a layer of herself, she becomes closer to her truth. And her truth is power. Her truth is purpose. Her truth is the quiet realization that she was never meant to blend in. She was meant to stand out. There comes a point in her journey when she no longer chases happiness in temporary things. She stops looking for it in validation, attention, or material symbols. She begins to find joy in simplicity, in peace, in gratitude, in presence. She learns that fulfillment doesn't come from being admired. It comes from being aligned. She doesn't seek excitement. She seeks meaning. And when she finds that, her energy shifts. The same things that once drained her no longer have power over her. The same people who once distracted her no longer hold space in her mind, because when she finds her purpose, she becomes unstoppable. She starts to move differently. Her words carry intention, her actions carry clarity, and her silence carries authority. People begin to feel her energy before she even speaks. That's because she no longer operates from fear. She operates from faith. Faith that whatever is meant for her will stay, and whatever leaves was never meant to last. She no longer fights for what doesn't flow, and that's what makes her magnetic. Everything she releases is replaced with something more authentic, something more aligned with her spirit. She has learned that peace is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of understanding. It's knowing who she is and not allowing the world to convince her otherwise, and that peace, once she finds it, becomes her greatest protection. Because when you can no longer disturb a woman's peace, you can no longer control her. That's the secret most people never understand. A woman at peace with herself is more powerful than anyone who ever tried to break her. She starts to attract differently. Gone are the days when she tolerated inconsistency or begged for effort. She no longer confuses potential with partnership or attention with affection. She looks for energy that feels like safety, words that feel like honesty, and eyes that see her beyond her beauty. She doesn't want promises. She wants presence. She doesn't crave perfection. She craves truth. because she has learned that love is not proven through grand gestures, but through consistency, through effort, through the small moments that say, I choose you, even when it's not convenient. Her empathy remains her superpower, but she now knows where to place it. She no longer gives it to everyone who needs saving because she has learned that not everyone wants to be healed. They just want attention. She understands that her kindness must have boundaries. She knows that saying no doesn't make her selfish. It makes her wise. And that wisdom came at a cost. It came from giving too much, forgiving too easily, and trusting too soon. But she doesn't regret it. Every disappointment became a doorway to discernment. Every heartbreak became a lesson in self-respect. Her spirit has reached a level of maturity that doesn't need to prove, please, or persuade. She simply is. And in her being, there is power. The kind of power that doesn't shout, it radiates. The kind of strength that doesn't demand, it inspires. The kind of grace that doesn't pretend, it flows naturally. She has become so connected to her essence that she can walk through storms with a calm heart, because she knows storms don't destroy her, they refine her. She has also learned the value of solitude. The same solitude she once feared has now become her sanctuary. It's in her quiet moments that she recharges her energy, resets her mind, and reconnects with her soul. She no longer sees loneliness as a void, she sees it as sacred space. Space where she can listen to her intuition, honor her emotions, and prepare for her next evolution. Because she knows that before every breakthrough, there's a season of isolation, and she's no longer afraid of it. She welcomes it like an old friend, because she understands that solitude is where transformation begins. There's an elegance to the way she carries herself now, not because she's trying to impress, but because she finally understands her worth. She walks with purpose, speaks with intention, and loves with discernment. You can sense the shift in her energy. She's no longer seeking to be chosen. She's choosing herself. She's no longer chasing validation. She's chasing vision. And the moment a woman starts walking in her vision, she becomes unstoppable. Her presence alone becomes a revolution. She has seen enough of life to know that not everyone will clap for her growth. Some will misunderstand her distance. Others will resent her strength. But she no longer takes it personally. She knows that people can only meet her as deeply as they've met themselves. So she releases the need to explain, defend, or justify her path. She walks it with quiet confidence, knowing that her purpose doesn't require approval. When she gives advice now, it's not from a place of ego, it's from experience. She's lived through the fire, and she knows what it means to rise from ashes. That's why her words carry weight. When she speaks about healing, it's not theory, it's testimony. When she talks about strength, it's not motivation, it's memory. She has lived through the storms that tried to silence her, and now her voice has become her power. She's reached a point where she doesn't want drama, doesn't want chaos, doesn't want anything that disturbs her peace. She craves consistency, authenticity, and emotional intelligence. She values calm conversations over loud arguments, depth over attention, loyalty over excitement. She no longer entertains energy that drains her spirit, because she knows that protecting her peace is a form of self-respect. Every woman eventually reaches that defining moment, the moment she realizes she doesn't need permission to be powerful. She doesn't need anyone to tell her she's enough. She doesn't need external validation to feel complete. That moment changes everything. It's when she looks in the mirror and finally sees herself, not the version others projected onto her, but the real her, the woman who has fallen, risen, healed, and grown, the woman who has walked through pain and still chooses love, the woman who carries light even when surrounded by darkness. That moment is her awakening. And after that awakening, there is no going back. She can't unsee her worth. She can't unlearn her lessons. She can't unlove herself. She becomes intentional with her energy, selective with her circle, and protective of her peace. She knows that her spirit is not a playground, it's sacred ground, and only those who walk with respect are allowed to stay. She learns to forgive, not for them, but for herself, because forgiveness is not weakness, it's release. It's saying, You no longer control how I feel. It's reclaiming her emotional freedom. She lets go, not because she's indifferent, but because she values her peace more than her pride. And that level of emotional maturity becomes her greatest weapon. Her aura begins to shift. You can feel it when she walks by, a mix of calm, confidence, and clarity. She has become the embodiment of grace under pressure. Her energy no longer seeks attention, it commands it, and not through loudness, but through presence. People find themselves drawn to her without understanding why, because she represents something rare in a world full of pretense, authentic power. And through it all, she remains humble. She doesn't forget where she came from. She remembers the nights she cried herself to sleep, the days she doubted her worth, the moments she wanted to give up. And instead of letting them harden her, she lets them remind her how far she's come. Every scar is a signature of survival, every tear a reminder of transformation. She's not ashamed of her past, it's her proof of resilience. So now she walks not as someone searching for her place in the world, but as someone who knows she belongs wherever she chooses to stand. Her journey is no longer about being understood, it's about being at peace. Her mission is no longer about proving herself, it's about living in truth. She has become the kind of woman who doesn't chase opportunity. Opportunity finds her because her energy speaks louder than words ever could.